We are live.
Awesome.
Yes. Awesome. Okay.
I am Chloe.
And I'm Sandy.
And this is WordStitch.
We are live.
Oh gosh.
Oh, that's me. That's me. No, wait, that's not me. Was that you?
No, it was me. It was me. I was just opening up YouTube and it did that thing that it does.
Got it.
We're back. We're good.
We are back. We're back. We're having like a weirdly tense conversation about the coronavirus. And so we want to talk about writing now so that we can focus again. At least that's how I feel. Chloe, have you decided yet what you are working on today?
No, I have no idea what I am working on today. Yeah. I don't know. I still have to do my title page for LOEs. So I think I'm just going to be doing that.
Okay. And
that's how I'm going to start. That takes me like 5 minutes to do. And then we'll go.
Yeah. This is, did you see that conversation the other day on the 20 books page about the cost of a cover?
No.
So, or maybe it wasn't, maybe it was the Steamy books, but I think it was the 20 books to 50K. Like somebody asked people to give numbers on how much it costs to have a cover created. And so there's like, you know, as you do on that website, like gazillions of comments about like, this is how much I pay and this is how much I pay. Yeah, and the numbers sort of range from like.
Range.
What?
That's a huge flipping range too. Like that's like $1,000 range right there.
Wait, are you looking at it right now?
No, I'm just saying like how much people pay for covers.
Oh yeah. The range is somewhere between like 0 and 1,000. And the interesting thing to me is like nobody writes what they're actually getting for their cover design. So you get these people like, oh, I did like a YA cover and it cost me $300. For what? Did you get a title page? Did you get just the e-cover? Did you get the paperback? Did you get the audiobook? Like, do you have multiple versions? Did they give you mock-ups? Like, is there a box set coming? Is there a discount for next time? Was this part of a series? Like, all that information is like not there. So
or even, well, I mean, I guess they probably, some people I'm sure did post what their covers were, but like also what was involved in that cover makes a big difference.
Yeah, and that's totally fair too. You don't necessarily get to see what the cover turned out to be because you can't know that. So like you get all these different things, but I think title pages is something, I don't, this is just random. This just hit me. Like, I don't think most people think about it. I don't think it occurs to them that they actually need a title page that like matches their cover.
Yeah, you need a title page and it needs to be like same font and everything as the cover. I don't know if we're going off track already, but like I literally make my title pages by taking my Photoshop, we'll call it, I use GIMP, but my Photoshop file and removing the image layers until it's just text layers and flipping it to black and white.
Yeah.
I might like rearrange the text slightly depending on how it's laid out. And I have to throw my logo on it, but that's how they're made.
Yeah. But it's not something that people think about. So if you're watching this and you're thinking about formatting during like our first 10-minute sprint, you should totally format your title page also. Be like Chloe. Don't be like somebody who just uses Word for that.
You don't use Word for that.
Don't use Word for that. Yeah.
You're better than that. You are better than Word.
We're better. We're so we can at least do what's the one you use? GIMP? Do you use GIMP?
I use GIMP, yeah.
Or Affinity. Affinity is pretty good. It's either way, the range for that is only like $0 to $50 for your program. Yeah. We can confirm that. That's the thing. Yeah, we have some people with us. Hey, Devin, nice to have you here today. Hopefully you are working on something productive. I am working on, guys, I finished the draft of the Lizzie Dupree story. Like I fixed the science. The science works. I almost killed someone in a way that makes me happy.
Wait, you didn't actually kill them? We did all of that and he's not even dead?
No, well, that was the whole problem, right? Like I had to make him look like he was going to die, but not actually die.
I didn't know that was part of it at all. I thought we were like trying to kill the guy and pretend that it was an accident when it was actually a homicide.
It wasn't a homicide. There was no homicide involved. But point is I'm done with that and I'm moving on to the villain story. So that's what I am working on. Okay, but let's get ourselves started with our first
Yes.
First thing here.
Okay. Yeah, I've got us all set to go.
Wait, but you have not shared your screen.
I didn't, because I had to fight to get that share button up on the screen. Why are you not doing this? There we go. Okay, now we're all set to go. Cool. Our first sprint is 10 minutes. So we will see you guys at 1:15. Good luck.
Okay, we are back. Oh my gosh, I didn't put my word prompt up last time.
You did not put a word prompt up. I figured you just didn't have them.
No, well, it wasn't that good. Oh, well, it's fine. It's fine. All right, I can put this up instead. And we have Jeannie with us too. Hello, thanks for joining.
Hello.
So, Chloe, how'd you do with your formatting?
It took me exactly 9 minutes and 58 seconds. That's kind of a lie because it took a while for the program to load, but I finished and closed out the program with 2 seconds to spare.
Fun. So yeah. I am I'm doing like one of my little 9-day novella things for my villain story, and my first day I always fill in like character worksheets, and I don't mean like descriptions. I mean like, what is this person's plot problem, right? So like, what is it that they want? What's the obstacle? What are they gonna like? What kind of like problems are gonna hit them as we go through the story? And it's so much fun because these are my ultimate villains.
Oh, good.
Ultimate. Like they're not just villains. They are the villains of the entire like universe that I'm creating. But I'm starting them from like before they were villains. So I feel very like Batman-esque, you know? Like I'm designing evil.
So I have a question for you. But first of all, I apologize for the cat. She just stopped, but I apologize for the cat that's giving the evil eye to everybody.
Cat. What else is she supposed to do?
Like glaring at the camera for it. Now she's glaring at me. Anyway, so my question was going to be though, is this going to be how they become evil, or is this like a way back before they were evil, when they were good people, and therefore you feel more sympathetic toward them and their villainy in the present day?
It's how good people became villains.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's way back, but yeah, I'm starting them from when they were good.
Have you seen Joker?
Yes. Did you see it?
Yeah, that's why I asked, because I felt like, oh, this is actually a really valid time to talk about that movie. We're not going to talk about that movie, but like,
wait, why not?
If you want to see a goodish guy, just a guy, he's just a guy with some issues, turn into like full on villain, but also like that weird anti-hero stuff. That's Joker, and I think it deserved everything that it got from the Oscars.
You know, I like, I know a lot of people had a problem with Joker, right? Like they didn't necessarily want it in movie theaters, and I was really concerned about it as well, because I'm not sure we should like glorify becoming evil and violent. But I have to admit, it was so well done. I mean, like, so well done. And the acting is so good.
I would like to say that we shouldn't glorify that stuff, and I absolutely believe that. But also, we live in a world that absolutely glorifies it. So I didn't understand all the hoopla about that either, because like this is legitimately just what we watch. So this really isn't that far off the norm. I was also mildly outraged by Rock and Roll Part 2 being in it, though.
By who? By what?
Rock and Roll Part 2. Rock and Roll Part 2. You know the song because it's played at like it used to be played at every stadium event ever. It was the song. Yeah. He's a racist, a pedophile. So that song doesn't get played anymore. Gary Glitter, the person who made that song, is in jail for, I believe it was pedophilia, not just rape, but children. So there was a bit of an outrage about that song being in there, because like, yeah, it was a good song for the moment, but there are other good songs for that moment.
Wait, like, so the song can't be played because the artist is a pedophile?
Well, I mean, he was making royalties off of it.
Oh, so, I mean, he shouldn't be allowed to make royalties.
Yeah, well, but you do. Like, that's not something that ever goes away, no matter what you do. Royalties still happen. So, again, like, it's one of those situations where you're allowed to do it, but like there were other people who were maybe more deserving of what would have been gotten from that.
And I know we're having a very serious conversation about this, but what occurred to me right then was that we could go to jail and still get royalties for our books.
Yes. That's really cool, isn't it? Like there's
cool.
Also, like we can continue writing in jail. We might not be able to publish, but assuming that we don't do something so horrible of a crime that we lose access to everything, we can absolutely keep writing and therefore have stuff to publish when we get out of jail.
I mean, like if you're put on like death row or something, don't you like wouldn't your royalties just go to like your estate or something?
Yes, that's exactly what happens in that case.
Interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure that there's some. I don't know the intricacies of this at all, but I would assume that there are some things where, I imagine that if you're on death row, then there is some sort of a victim repayment thing going on. There's a proper phrasing for that, and I'm not using it, but I would imagine, therefore, that your royalties would probably go to that.
Actually, wait, so are we sure that the pedophiles' royalties aren't going to a victim fund?
I don't know.
Because maybe then it should be put on time.
A decent amount of uproar for it, and I never heard the producing company say, hey, this is where the royalties are actually going to. And I feel like if I was the production company, I would absolutely jump on that and be like, hey, look at this good thing that we're actually doing.
Yeah. But okay, so back to like the Joker villain thing.
Sorry, we were way off track.
No, it's totally fine. So I think that the Batman villains are a really good example of a fictional world where villains have been really well done. Like they're scary as hell, and yet they always come from a background that you can like sympathize with, right?
Yeah.
So they're extra scary because you see why they were normal and why they no longer can be.
So not only do they have these backgrounds that you can relate to in that sense, but the other great thing that happens in superhero comics and you know their resulting media, the other great thing is that you can see in them usually where it only takes one small thing for them to become a hero or a villain. And they all kind of have very, like, their backgrounds aren't all similar, but you can see where in their backgrounds they had a chance to go either way, and it was kind of justified either way that they went.
Well, that's an interesting point, because actually I feel like at least with a movie like The Joker, like that's a pretty big build up to being a villain. Like he tried to go the right way many times. I'm not sure you can compare
Joker's not canon. Like that's not the actual, like what we consider to be the Joker. That's not his backstory.
I mean, you know, DC canon is all very confusing, right? Because they're
confusing. Yes, but you have that generic. You have like the Penguin, who was a product of his birth, and you've got Two-Face, who was a product of an accident. You've got all kinds of these like different situations. A lot of them are products of accidents. Where, you see heroes that also had similar backgrounds that end up being heroes.
Yeah.
So Joker's is kind of a weird thing because it doesn't actually have the hero element in it. Like he is also the hero in a weird way.
Yeah. Okay. Let's
it's time.
Yep.
I'm sorry.
I'm gonna put my word prompt up this time. I totally had word prompts. Man.
I support that.
Okay. All right.
Okay, so the word prompt is Despicable Me, who apparently, I'm assuming, has a likable villain. I've never seen it.
He is a likable villain, but I think I spelled that right. Did I spell that right? I was very concerned about that.
I don't know about that A, but it probably is. I feel like that is correct.
Apologies if that's not spelled right. All right, guys, let's get started.
Okay. All right, we will see you guys at 10 of the hour.
Okay. So guess what? The spelling was actually correct.
Yes. Yes, Devin also confirmed that.
Yeah, I appreciate that, Devin. I actually Googled it. Like, I feel like I did this before, but sometimes these things gets me.
There are certain words that I just cannot spell. I'm a great speller, but there are certain words that will just break me every time, like embarrassed.
Yeah, well, that's a confusing one because there's too many double letters.
Are there how many multiple double letters are there?
I don't know. I'm a terrible speller. I'm not like bad at spelling.
And that's it. I feel like there's actually only one. I don't know.
You know, so the interesting thing for me about spelling is I think my fingers can spell better than my brain, if that makes sense. Like if I need to type a word, I usually can do it. But if I have to think about it, I can't.
As soon as you second guess yourself?
I think it's actually muscle memory in some cases.
Oh,
you know, like
it could be.
Like I think you practice so hard and then I don't know. Like I typed in embarrassed there in Google, but I could not actually have and it was right, but I couldn't actually have told you what the spelling was. So my character worksheets are going really well.
So there are 2 double letters. Thank you.
And you're not still formatting, are you?
Me?
Yeah, you.
I got Eloise formatted. A question for the audience. First of all, how did you guys do?
Yeah.
Second of all, do you have feelings about whether it should be left aligned or justified in a ebook? Because I see them both ways.
You don't get to choose that.
What?
You don't choose that.
I do.
No, I don't think you do. I'm pretty sure that your Kindle does that for you.
Oh, maybe Kindle specifically does, but I don't think that's a universal.
I think that Kindle has a requirement for it. I think
right. That's what I'm saying. Kindle might, but I don't think it's universal. And I normally use, if I'm actually reading my own stuff, for example, I'm on Overdrive.
Huh. Okay.
Yeah. And in fact, I just opened 2 different books on Overdrive, and one of them was Justified, and the other was Left Aligned.
So
Kindle might care. I don't know, but Overdrive definitely. That does matter in Overdrive.
So I think it would be a huge pain in the ass to do your books 2 separate ways, right? And you're for sure gonna put it on to Kindle. You're at least for you personally, right? You're very unlikely to create an ebook that isn't going to go on KDP Select. So why wouldn't you use the KDP
Wait, are you saying that KDP will reject it if it's not formatted a certain way?
I think that they specifically encourage you to use a left justification, and I don't know if they would reject it, but
well, I know they definitely didn't because one of the books that I pulled up, again, both of them are mine, and I know that they were both accepted.
And you had them justified. So I wonder. So I suppose that Kindle must just maybe it doesn't matter. Maybe as long as it's reflowable, it just does whatever it wants to do with your text.
It might, but Overdrive does not. Overdrive does what you tell it to do.
Interesting. Well, anyways, so I suppose so
that is a thing. Nobody has responded, and that's okay. But that is part of what I am doing right now. And then I just realized I really need to just kind of get a whole bunch of things on pre-order so that I can fix my also by page and have it fixed for a while. And then I also have some other cover pages that I need to do in conjunction with that. So that's what I've moved on to.
Great. This issue is now going to like bother me.
I'm so sorry. I just know that I pulled up Magical Cave of Glowing Wonder and it is justified. And I pulled up Beauty and the Boar and it is left aligned.
In overdrive.
In overdrive, yes. And Magical Cave of Glowing Wonder is no longer in KDP, so I can't check to see how it handled it. Not because it was rejected, but because I took it out.
So the KDP guidelines basically say formatting issues can affect how readers see your book. So like, I don't know what that means. It means that if you like justify things weird, that like your Kindle could do something wonky. But
does it actually say it must be left justified?
Well, no. So what you're supposed to do is just leave it as like nothing, I think. It's like, so one of their examples of formatting issues is forced alignment of body text. Like that's the specific way they put it. So I'm not sure that any of mine actually have any like a line left or not. Now I'm gonna have to look that up.
I mean, if you made it in Caliber, most likely it does.
Yeah, no, you're right. And I
because that was just going from, I mean, I know you're not going from Word to Caliber, but
right. You know, I'm about to
Word automatically has that. Like it just is automatically part of its programming.
Okay, so
and I know Google Play justifies. I don't know if it also does left align, but like the reason I was thinking about this was because I was reading a book on Google Play and it was justified.
Okay, let me look at my style sheets here. Oh, no, you're right. I do. I use left. So I must have decided that that's what Kindle wants. But so maybe forced justification is sort of a different kind of thing. Like maybe there's a way to try to make your book justified when Kindle isn't going to do it.
Also, I don't know if this makes any difference at all, but everything that I have that is traditionally published on Google Play, it is all, although maybe Google Play just automatically.
I mean, that's the thing, right? Like if it's this like reflowable text, then I think it's not even going to matter in most cases, but apparently it does on overdrive. Yeah. That's going to really drive me crazy. Like I'm going to be wondering what the hell Kindle is doing, and did I just not understand? Like, do they actually want your stuff justified? Where did I read that? How many years ago was that? Have they changed it since then? You know, Kindle does all kinds of weird stuff like that too. Like, you know, like the file that Kindle will accept, drafted digital sometimes won't. And like that means that like you could give Amazon a file that has errors in it, and it's just not going to tell you. It's going to like do whatever it can with your file, where like another service might actually like spit back a, oh, sorry, this isn't actually going to work for us kind of thing. And that has driven me crazy too. Like, so I uploaded something that wouldn't work. What the? It is 5 o'clock now. So
the good news is that we can end this conversation right now.
Yeah. Sorry guys. We have HTML problems.
We do that thing we do sometimes. Okay. Yeah. So the word prompt is, Luke, I am your father.
Oh my God, I spelled Luke right, didn't I? Yes.
You did, of course.
Everything's off now.
Everything's wrong. The entire world is wrong. Okay, we will see you guys in 30 minutes. Good luck. Still a pineapple. There we go.
Still a pineapple. Okay, here we go. All right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I too have yearned for Scrivener to have a third split screen. I feel like that's one of those things that I cannot have enough of.
Doesn't Scrivener have a split screen?
No, a third one.
Oh.
Yeah.
I never use the split screen in Scrivener. I use the inspector, I use the binder, but Scrivener would be so small with a split screen.
Well, unless your monitor is a 39-inch TV.
Well, that's very good point. That is yes.
No, I would love to have like the main window. Am I facing the right way? Whichever way it is. The main window, and then like a sidebar, and then like a bottom bar. Not for every moment, but just like I normally like I might have an outline next to it if I'm actually outlining that one. But then I'll also have like an independent fact thing. And it's nice to be able to have both of them open. And I don't know about anybody else, but like if I have to switch those screens, I get really flustered and end up like switching the wrong screen and losing my place. And I know that all it takes is like clicking back to the right place and it'll save my position, but it's still the frustration of it. So yeah. I don't like having to switch between my outline and my information stuff if I can avoid it.
I mean, I put my outlines in the index cards, right? So like usually I can see the outline, like the part, like if I'm, if I outline something and my chapter is part of the outline, then I can usually see it in whatever I'm doing fairly easily. But the
are the index cards always open? I don't mess with that. I've never figured out how to keep them always open, I guess is what I'm saying.
Well, no and yes. Like you can usually see the index card for an individual file or document in the inspector.
Oh, gotcha. If you're using the inspector. Okay.
Yeah. And then they have like document notes and project notes. So I use that somewhat extensively too. But I guess you're right. Like it's not like that gets you, it doesn't make it so you can see 3 chapters at once. Like if you're trying to compare notes that way. Scrivener does have some limitations.
Yes, as they all do.
They all do.
So we didn't really talk that much about the topic that we said that we were going to talk about. So Sandy, my question for you is, do you prefer to write likable villains?
Oh yeah. Why would you write anything other than a likable villain?
I do not write likable villains.
Yes, you do.
I don't. Unless like
totally likable.
Which of my villains are likable?
Hunter was likable.
Really? You thought Hunter was likable?
Hunter was likable. The scary angel in
but he is going to be a hero.
Well, then you haven't introduced a real villain.
Oh, right. I have not introduced a real villain there yet.
So, I mean, he was your only character.
You'll get actual villains in the next book. There just happen to be no villains in this one.
I'm trying to think of other times even read villains for your
her dad in Warren's Tabby.
Yeah. But
her entire family, her entire piece of crap family. But
her dad wasn't even a real villain. Her dad was like such a loser that you just, you just want him to die. You're just like, forget him.
Oh, right. So Jeannie just said exactly where I'm kind of going with this. Characters don't have to be likable. They have to be interesting. And my problem is that my heroes are not necessarily likable. Or they're kind of tough love. Yeah, they're relatable. Definitely, Devin. Thank you. I write broken heroes. And so I'm always worried that if I make the villains likable, then actually my readers are going to be rooting for the villains. So, like Sandy mentioned Hunter, who was one of my villains and who is like the evil brother of the hero. But the hero in that book, Flynn, is a super, super broken character, ridiculously broken. Spends the entire book screwing up horribly and doing his best to make up for it. So Hunter is charming, but he's sleazy charming. Like at the beginning, he is a very charming character, and as things go on, you find out that actually he's completely disgusting. So I guess he's likable in that sense that he does start off charming, but
I mean, I think you have to figure that like your villain is like, what is likable, right? Because like your villain by definition is doing bad things. So like if what we're saying is that like if the villain makes poor moral choices or like hurts people or like, you know, lies or does bad stuff, then like they're not likable, then no villain is ever likable. But if what we're saying is that there are things about them that makes it so that you can kind of sympathize or so that you kind of, you know, wouldn't mind having like a drink with them if, you know, if they were going to not kill you, then I mean, so I think Jeannie's point that they have to be interesting is really important. And I think interesting makes people likable in a lot of cases. Like it's scary, but likable.
Right. So I guess then it becomes like, what exactly do we mean when we say likable?
That's a good point. What do we mean? So what do you mean?
Well, so I would not want to go out for drinks with any of my villains who are actually true villains.
Oh my God. I'd want to get drinks with almost all of mine. All of them.
I'm just thinking, and I realize that like you've read a bunch of my stuff, but also you've never read anything that was like in its entirety, as in like the entire arc was done.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I would not want to go get drinks with Hunter. Like Hunter.
No. But like, and then I guess I do. I also, for my own stuff, have an issue with like not writing actual concrete villains at all.
Well, you write a lot of romance, so you don't have to have villains in a lot of cases.
Well, no, I just mean like in my shifter stuff, the primary villain is actually a government organization.
Oh, well, you gotta put a person behind it eventually.
Well, eventually, but like they're not somebody who's going to be there fully. Like I'm thinking as in comparison to a character like Maleficent. Yeah, my cats are villainous. That's why that one looks villainous. They're absolutely the lovable villains in my life. The other one is playing with balloons right now. That is how adorable that villain is.
So I think that like when you have this problem of like your villain is the government agency or something, like what that really speaks to is that you need to define more clearly who's behind it, because I do actually think that ends up being a problem for the reader. Like I feel like it's really hard as a reader to like understand why somebody is fighting so hard if they don't have a particular person that's attached to like whatever it is that they're fighting. And I feel like
in general.
What? Go ahead.
I can see that in general, but in my case, it's literally they're shifters fighting a government organization that is there in order to strip shifters of their rights and to do terrible things to them. Hey, Stewie. So I think in that case, and like there are, I mean, like in one of them, there's, I don't know, it bounces around. I guess I do. Like, I guess the thing is that like I do have individual people as villains, but they're minor characters. They're characters who generally go away at the end of the book, whereas the series overall is an organization.
You know, this could be a genre issue, right? Like, I'm thinking of like my Angel books, and like I mean, I'm planning villains, but they're very loosely defined right now because I don't need them to be like big players. Like I can have general demons chasing my hero, and I don't gotta decide who the boss is yet. But like in the YA world, it's really hard to do that without like having kind of a plan to begin with about who your villains are, because you have to. YA or middle grade, like ultimately there's got to be a person that your characters are, or a team of people, right? Or like a hierarchy of villains.
Voldemort.
We must, you have to have Voldemort, or you have to have like, what's his name? Snow in the Hunger Games, or you have to have I don't know. I mean, you need somebody who like represents that like top of the mountain that the hero is trying to get to, so that they can have the sword fight of their lives. And take everybody down. That's although I mean, I have seen it done okay without that, but I think it's kind of unsatisfying when you don't have it. And like you can tell when the writer puts it in as an afterthought. Like I'm very concerned right now. I recently read like a Brandon Sanderson story that I loved. And like at the end of the story, you find out that like the villains that you thought existed are basically like trash robots. And they're like the humans are living on like a trash prison. And there's obviously like a bigger story coming up, and people love Brandon Sanderson. So like supposedly he does a really good job of eventually like giving you more. But
this is a series that is fully in existence, but you've only read one book of.
It's not fully in existence.
Okay.
And I've only read one book, and I'm concerned at the end of the book, because what I'm thinking is, like this is gonna be one of those things where it's like what do they call it? Like a Russian doll set, like where I never even know who the villain is. And then how can I possibly relate to or sympathize with or like, root for my villain, which I kind of want to do if I don't know who they are.
So, and again, this could be a genre thing, but like in Well Done, like if we're looking at romance, so of course with romance, the genre or the villain has to like change frequently if it's a series anyway. But like I consider a series to be really well done if the villain gets more extreme in every book. So like if we took Larissa Ione's Demonica series, the first villain in that is, I think, is the shady government organization. It's the one dude's wife, and the way that she's manipulated that government, whatever. Which is like a weird villain, but again, it's like it's starting out the world, so it's okay. And by the end of it, it's Satan. Satan is the villain. And then the guy, in fact, that was the second to last one. And then the final one is the guy who is in line to replace Satan as the Lord of the Underworld. So I feel like so the reason that I went into that is because with your Sanderson thing, couldn't it also be that he is building up a stronger villain and therefore it's totally fine?
Yeah, totally. It's just that there's been no mention of this particular person. So like throughout that entire first book, the villain, the person you believe is kind of the villain, is like a government leader. And she turns out not to really be a villain. She's just sort of a human adult making decisions that kind of suck to make. But yeah, like I agree with you. I think that they need to get more extreme, but like I'd rather get a hint early on of who the person is. So like you've been watching The Chilling Adventures of Sabrina, right?
Yeah.
So that's a really good example, I think, right? Like from the beginning that there's like a Dark Lord or something like that, but you don't know who he is, right? But you do have you have Lilith like very early on trying to like manipulate Sabrina, and you have sort of like underlings who might be like evil in their own personal ways. And then you get to like season 4 or something, and like at some point the devil himself is the villain, but like he was mentioned much earlier, and so there's like a buildup that goes on. I think that's what I want. Like I don't have to meet the villain personally in the very first book. I think that would be weird. But I do want to know that like I want a hint. I want something to be afraid of earlier than like, you know, I don't know, whatever.
So you don't like it if the villain ends up being somebody completely out from the beginning.
Oh, I'm totally cool if it's somebody you didn't think was the villain. That I'm fine with.
You need them to be there.
Here's the thing is I want to read a character-driven story. And I feel like a character-driven story depends on both your hero being like, you know, driven by character goals and also your villain. So like you need some hints early on about what the villain's motivations are, even if you don't meet them like early on. You need to know something about them or have some reference to them. Because they've got to have just as good an arc as the heroes, or the hero doesn't have something good enough to live up to, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
It's past time. It's 5:45. We
Yeah.
got a thing.
Let's do that last thing.
Yeah, let's do the thing. I might be ranting about villains today. I'm sorry.
Okay. You have very strong feelings about villains.
I really do.
Yeah. I don't care so much about villains, but again, I read mostly romance. So I just need there to be something to be angry at. But then as long as they come back together in the end and vanquish that person, then I'm okay.
My word prompt totally works for you. It's everyone hates Nazis.
Everyone does hate Nazis. Okay, we'll see you guys in 10 minutes.
Okay, we are back. Haley dropped in. Thanks for dropping us a line, Haley. We're sorry you can't be here for longer. Yeah. So my story prep is almost done. I'm just doing the blurb. Yeah.
What else do you need to get done for today to finish your 9-day plan?
So the last part of my plan is to complete a blurb for the book. I'd like to do it like early on and then start drafting, and then I'll revise the blurb later. And I feel like that both makes the blurb writing easier and gives me some like direction for my novel. And then when I'm done with that, I'm gonna do some editing on the Lizzie Dupree story. And that's it. That's my thing for the day. I was really super productive though. I like blogged, I like wrote a newsletter. I've been fixing some websites. I'm working on my story. I'm gonna be doing some editing. It's all good.
I made myself real tired looking at pictures of pumpkins.
What?
I made myself really tired looking at pictures of pumpkins.
And in other news,
I have to do a Halloween angel for Hazel. I have to do the book cover. So I was looking at pictures of pumpkins.
Right. Someone got 268 words. So somebody else is doing work. I find that very weird, Chloe. I mean, that's serious.
My covers.
Well, I hope that you were able to find your pumpkin. And
no, I'm not happy with any of them, but that's okay.
So it's 6. I guess we should. This is the end of our show, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm so tired. I had a day.
I'm tired too. I'm tired, and I'm planning to order pizza for dinner, and that sounds spectacular.
Solid plan. I have no idea what's happening with dinner, but it's not my responsibility tonight.
So thanks for joining, everybody. We're really appreciative of you coming here today. Hope you got a lot of work done. Enjoyed our rambling about villains and Scrivener.
I hope you got more work done than me.
The coronavirus next week. Try to avoid that.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to the quarantine. I can get so many more words written if I'm quarantined.
We are so well equipped for quarantine as writers, right? Like, because we have done so many virtual sprints. We can. It's wonderful for us. Except that like my spouse might be working from home this week.
Oh, that is a problem. Ken gets real bored real quickly.
Yeah, like you do you want people at home with you?
Yeah. Oh, you know what? Ken will still go to work because he's a mechanic. I mean, he's a manager, but he's a manager of a shop and they fix stuff. And there's only 4 employees, so he'll still go to work.
So you're good. I think Malcolm might be here, and I think if that's the case, then we're going to have to sequester him to a particular corner of the house to get some stuff done.
Yeah.
All right. So hopefully we'll see you guys all back here next week.
That my cat is not waving goodbye. She's cleaning herself, but it kind of looks like she's waving goodbye.
I'm going to go with that. Okay. All right. On that note, we'll see you next week. Bye, everyone.